Okay, let's get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome and welcome back to Cafe Oleh. My name is Jay. Here at Cafe Oleh with Nefesh B'Nefesh, we go over the everyday Hebrew you need here in Israel to succeed. Whether that's reading and paying your bills, going grocery shopping and reading nutritional labels, reading and keeping up with the news, striking up a conversation, flirting, dating, job interviewing, complaining, all the everyday things you do in your native language in your country of origin, but here in Israel in modern Hebrew. As always, we want to hear from you what topics you'd like us to cover. Please feel free to email us anytime at hebrew@nbn.org.il. That's Hebrew. With any questions, comments, concerns, and most importantly, requests for topics. We always want to hear from you what topics you'd like us to cover. If we haven't in the past or we haven't done it in a while, you should always check our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com, type in Cafe Oleh. The very first entry will be a link to our longer playlist of hundreds of previous lessons with nearly, if not more than 20,000 views. Not only can you leave us a comment there, you can check and see if we've done this topic before. So we love to hear from you, but it's also worth doing your homework, folks. So before you write to us, maybe check on YouTube if we've done the class recently, and then write to us saying, could you include this in the next time you cover it or something like that? We still want to hear from you. Likewise, if you're joining us live on Zoom, you're welcome to write to us in the chat with any questions, comments, concerns, and requests you may have. And those of you who are joining us live on Zoom, and right now we're at 268 participants, folks, take that in for a moment. 268 people learning Hebrew around the world for free, live at the same time. That doesn't really happen very often, except here at Cafe Oleh. The only thing we do request in the chat is that you keep the personal chit chat to a minimum. People are here hopefully to learn and to ask questions, which you're allowed to do in the Q&A. I'll only be looking at the Q&A. So if you have questions about this specific class, please write them in there and we'll review the chat later. That being said, let's get started. This is a class that came by request to cover this specific topic. You're going to notice that I'm going to cover this topic a little more generally than perhaps other ones. Not because I don't think the topic is important. It's certainly important to me. Personally, I'm sure it's important to a lot of you. But I want to get to something that's much more important and specifically uniquely Israeli. As we talk about a lot with Cafe Oleh, I know a lot of things. I'm a pretty smart guy, but I'm not here to be a human dictionary. There's a lot of words you can easily find, even with a tool as faulty as Google Translate. That is a plug to read and watch our previous lesson on better online translation guides. Please don't ask me right now. We have a whole lesson about that, but you can ask me in a future class. Even with that, I'm not going to go through every single word in this specific topic we're about to cover, just like I don't in other topics. We're trying to cover words for and expressions you can't easily look up, words that have a deeper cultural meaning and context in Israel that you aren't necessarily going to be able to find online, let alone learn in a formal place of education like an ulpan, a day school, a university, a yeshiva, or elsewhere. And specifically with this class, we're going to get into economics. We come back in time again to economics and consumer awareness. This is a particular one that's of importance, and you're even going to learn some important words and expressions to make you sound even more like a native Israeli. Not just Israeli, because once you make Aliyah, you are an Israeli, whether you like the word or not, but a native Israeli is a different story. So with that, today's topic is, if I can open it up, where'd it go? Sorry, just 1 minute. There it is. Our topic today is, by request, grooming. We had a question asked about grooming and various grooming products and the words that are used in Hebrew, which is a good one because think about it. If you're learning Hebrew in a day school, in a university, in a yeshiva, even in an ulpan, you're not necessarily learning everyday words. And we stress this at Cafe Oleh a lot. Everyday words, things like the words for minerals and vitamins in your food, things like grooming products, things you aren't going to learn anywhere than otherwise through conventional wisdom or on your own, or you're just never taught them anywhere, right? We talk about this a lot, like financial awareness. Unless you take a class in it or you are lucky to have a surrounding that does it, you're not necessarily going to know those words. Same here. I can't think of many formal education places, my own experience included, that's going to teach you grooming products in Hebrew. But that's important because we just naturally pick up a deodorant stick or hair products without thinking about it in our native country. What are they called in Hebrew? How do I find out what they're called? Okay. The products we're going to go through today are ones that aren't easily understood or aren't easily translatable from other languages into Hebrew. Okay, so you're going to notice, for example, there aren't going to be things like deodorant. Okay, that's what it's called, deodorant. I'm not putting that word on here. I could, it's one extra space. You all can figure that one out pretty easily. Also because major brands from abroad are sold here. I'm going to get to that as well. Let's first start general. Tamrukim. You're going to hear the word toaletica. Just like in a lot of categories in what we discuss here, a lot of words are cognates, simply a word from another language, transposed, transcribed into the language of use. So we take the word toiletries from English and from other languages and turn it into toaletica. You will hear that term, but the Hebrew term is tamrukim. Tamrukim is cosmetics and toiletries all at once. Gender inclusive. Okay, the next one, sorry, just 1 second. Tipuach. Tipuach is the name of this specific class. Tipuach is grooming. It's the act of grooming. Tipuach is the verbal noun. It's the ing in English, hence grooming in English. Tipuach, and it comes from the verb litapeach. Litapeach means both to groom, but also to care for, to treat in a personal sense, right? Taking care of yourself. Hygiene, all those things. Okay. When we talk about products, whether it's grooming products, any kind of products. And by the way, even though we're focusing on grooming today, a lot of these terms you're going to hear in many other places. For example, chomer pa'il and chomer gelem. Chomer, however you pronounce the letter resh, means both an ingredient but also material. Okay, there is a separate word for ingredient. But in this context, when we're talking about grooming products, toiletries, cosmetics, we often see on labels either because it's advertised as such or it just has to because of its own value that's been standardized, right? Chomer pa'il, the active ingredient or the active material in a given product. So for example, what is the chomer, mahu chomer hapa'il, what is the active ingredient? Be mishchat shinaim. Mishcha, we'll get to that word in a second, is paste, P-A-S-T-E, shinaim, teeth, משחת שיניים, toothpaste. מה החומר הפעיל במשחת שיניים? Sodium fluoride. Okay. What's the active ingredient in toothpaste? Sodium fluoride, right? Active material. Pa'il means active, right? So it's the thing that makes the product that the rest of all the ingredients in the product are delivering to you. Okay. And chomer gelem is both a word as much as chomer pa'il. Chomer gelem is a term that's used a lot in cooking and culinary and foodie circles, but it's also used increasingly in grooming and cosmetic products, especially Israeli-made products that really try to focus on using herbs and plants and all different things that are grown in the land of Israel and oils and so forth. So they talk a lot about chomer gelem. Chomer gelem is the raw material or ingredient that's being used, right? What are the chomrei gelem במוצר הזה? What are the active, or, excuse me, what are the raw materials or ingredients in this product? That's often used a lot because there's a very large aesthetic in Israel talking about knowing what's in your products, what is the thing that's the most active, but therefore it's raw because it's active and vice versa. A very important term, especially when you're talking food, but also cosmetics. Milkam. Milkam could as much be about food as it is about cosmetics. Milkam means texture or consistency. And when we talk about grooming products, we often talk about a milkam nozli, a liquid consistency or texture. Nozel is a liquid. Nozli is the adjective. We've talked about this a lot in previous classes, that when you add a yud to the end of a noun, that almost always turns it into an adjective. It's the easiest way to make a new word, a noun into an adjective, simply put a yud. Nozel is a liquid, nozli, liquid-y, liquidish, right? Liquidesque, meaning an adjective, liquid. Samich. Samich means dense or thick. You could call a marak or a nazid, a soup or a stew, samich, dense or thick. Or you could call a product dense or thick, that it has a more solid consistency than nozli. Okay. What are the types of products that you'll find? Some of these, again, easy enough. Crème is cream. Mishcha, we just talked about, is paste. Gel is gel. Sabon is soap. Simple enough. Let's get into some other ones. I'm going to devote quite a lot to hair. And if you think that's too much, you have clearly not been in Israel for a long time, or been in a place where, like in many cities and towns in Israel, there's at least one hair salon per block, if not two. We care a lot about hair here in Israel. That's as much a Mediterranean, Middle Eastern thing as that is an Israeli thing. So if you're not used to that, get used to it. Shampoo. Shampoo, sometimes called shampoo, is shampoo. Simply enough. But the word for a conditioner is not conditioner. It's mirakech. Mirakech comes from the same root as the word rach, meaning tender. Excuse me. When we talk about in Hebrew, hagil harach, the tender age, we're talking about children, infants, babies, children, toddlers. Okay, merakech is to tenderize something. In this case, your hair, to make it softer, conditioner. Okay, and it'll simply say merakech or merakech la se'ar. Se'ar is hair. Se'ar, however you say it. Merakech is simply something that conditions, softens. Crème la se'ar. Crème la se'ar is an important Israeli thing because I personally had never heard about this until I came to Israel. And then it's not only everywhere, you can pick it up if you are scent sensitive, you'll immediately pick it up. Because a lot of people, men and women, wear this all the time. Crème la se'ar. Crème, we just said, is cream. Se'ar is hair. What is hair cream? Hair cream is best thought of as leave-in conditioner. It is hair cream, but, excuse me, a little dry tonight. Crème la se'ar is best thought of as leave-in conditioner. It softens and keeps your hair moist. Sometimes even designs your hair, but it's a very Israeli thing to have. One of the classic products here in Israel is a company called Careline. It's a green, bright green tube, a bottle with a pump top. You'll instantly recognize, if you've been enough in Israel and among native Israelis who use it, you'll instantly recognize the smell. You'll see people with it in their hair. It's a great product, especially if your hair is prone to drying out. But crème la se'ar, a very classic Israeli product with multiple companies that make it. Me'atzev la se'ar. I promised you we're going to talk a lot about hair in this little bit. Me'atzev is the participle. It's the person doing itzuv. All these words have to do with design. Le'atzev is to design. Me'atzev is a designer or something that designs, and itzuv is design. In this case, me'atzev la se'ar. This could be someone who takes care of your hair, styles your hair, or it could be an appliance. That could be anything from a blow dryer to a any sort of electric appliance that takes care of your hair in the sense of designing it, styling it. Okay. But on the other side, kaskasim is dandruff. We do have Head and Shoulders in Israel. Someone asked me if I'm going to put Head and Shoulders in this list of words tonight. I said I'm not. Like deodorant, that's a word, big English letters in any pharmacy. Don't need to ask for that. But kaskasim, dandruff. Kereach is bald. The adjective bald, as in a gever kereach, a bald man. The opposite, not the opposite, but some people go for this, and it's also very popular in Israel, is hashtalat se'ar. Hashtalat se'ar is getting hair implants. It's the act of implanting hair. Hashtala comes from the same root as lishtol, to plant like a tree. A mashtela is a plant nursery, a place that grows plants. So hashtalat se'ar is the act of implant hair. It used to be very popular up until the war to go to Turkey, which is both close and has very affordable and successful method of hair implants, hashtalat se'ar. And it's a whole VIP process. It's now shifted to Cyprus and Greece. You can also find it in Israel. It's a very specific treatment. There's several other ones popular among Israelis. This is a big one. The opposite of that is hasarat se'ar. Lehasir is to remove something. It could be physical, it could be emotional and abstract. In this case, hasarat se'ar is hair removal. That's not just for your head, it could be anywhere on your body. Hasarat se'ar. Okay. Two words that sound familiar, that sound similar, and have just two um, differences of letters, but are important ones. Tisporet is a haircut, and tisroket is a hairstyle, right? If you're going for a tisporet, you're going to get your hair cut. If you're going for a tisroket, you're going to get your hair styled. Okay, what's the difference between the two? I leave you to know that in English or not. Okay, for tisroket, you could get a fen, a blowout. Pony are your bangs. We have some interesting words for various parts of hair. For example, a ponytail is a cuckoo. I didn't put that here, but bangs, right? The things that go here is pony. Okay. And finally, in the hair category, hachlakat se'ar. Lehachlik is to straighten something. It also means to slip in Hebrew. To slip, to skate. Also, we use that to skate on ice, but also to straighten something. Chalak is straight. So hachlaka is the act of straightening se'ar. Okay. Let's keep going. Everyone should be using this, respective of gender and frankly, respective of age. Creme lachut. Creme lachut moisturizing cream. Whether that's for your panim, face, your ol, skin. Creme lachut. Creme means cream. Lachut means both moisture in general. When we talk about in terms of weather, it means humidity, right? So when we're talking about ourselves, it means moisture. Yes, the M word that many people don't like. Here it is, lachut in Hebrew. Like I said, this is a gender inclusive class. And of course, my automatic Nikud generator did not like what I put there. There we go. A mustache is a safam. A beard is a zakan. I didn't put this here, but if you have little whiskers coming out, they're zifim. Okay, but a beard, like what I have, is a zakan. Zaken is an old person, specifically an old man. Skena is an old woman, but zakan is a beard. Sakin giluach and mechonat giluach. There is another word in Hebrew that's used for a razor, the actual razor blade, which is called ta'al. But what you're probably using, whether it's disposable or not, is a sakin giluach, literally a shaving knife. Giluach is shaving, and sakin is a knife. Okay, but together, sakin giluach is understood as a razor. Whether that you use that on your face or other parts of your body, sakin giluach. And an electric razor is literally a shaving machine, mechonat giluach. Okay, mechonat giluach, an electric razor. Okay, moving on. Motzar is a product. Like I said, I'm not going to go into individual ones. If you have specific questions about grooming products, by all means ask. We're going to get into the economics of it in a little bit because that's important. Motzar is a product, any product. Mutag is a brand. Chevra is a company. Okay, three different words that are used often interchangeably in English as much as in Hebrew, but they do have independent words, just like in English, right? A product could be part of a brand, which in turn is part of a company. That's just one permutation of all these three, but they're important three things because of the next word. And this is where the economics come in. We've talked about this term before. It's really important. This is what makes this class about Israel and everyday use in Hebrew in Israel. Yibul Makbil. Yibul Makbil is a economic term. It means parallel import. Yibu is import. It comes from the same root as the verb lavo, to come. Leyabe is to import, to come in. And makbil is parallel, right? Two parallel lines, makbil. Okay. What is parallel import? I'm glad you asked. Let me give you this handy dandy, albeit in English diagram to explain. Okay. Parallel import goes like this. In Israel, any product that comes into the country that is imported from abroad, miyuba, imported, is first off manufactured in a plant, a yatzran. We'll come back to that word in a second, right? The manufacturer, the plant. And it's delivered by a yevuan, an importer. In Israel, every single product that's imported has to be approved and given exclusive rights to a yevuan. So, for example, if you use X toothpaste brand, right? We're not going to name them right now. I might name and shame some of these yevuanim in a little bit if I get a little feisty, but let's say X toothpaste. You love X toothpaste. X toothpaste has an exclusive deal with Y, or in this case, P2 distributor, right, to import from the plant to Israel. Okay. That costs, let's say, 25 shekel. However, the exact same product, the exact same X toothpaste company, toothbrush and the flavor, even you like down to everything, is also manufactured for another country, distributed by another distributor, and it costs 15 shekel. The difference, there's a lot of differences. One, Israel's a smaller market. There may be different ingredients in it, but the point is the same exact same product is created for two different revenue streams, one to Israel, one to another country. They both have their own distributors. In Israel, right now, because of that exclusivity from the plant to the country, only that distributor is allowed to import that brand. Parallel import is this thing down here. Let's say that 15 shekel toothpaste is distributed to country A, another country. It is then sold through another importer. This one is P apostrophe. P apostrophe has what we call the parallel import and sells it into Israel for, instead of 25 shekel and maybe not even 15 shekel, maybe it's 20 shekel. Maybe it is 15 shekel. The point, though, is this is completely legal in Israel. And when it comes to cosmetics, this is a way to save a lot of money. A lot of the issues when it comes to cosmetics from abroad, first off, because Israel no longer manufactures a lot of its own cosmetics like it used to. There still are a lot, but not as many. But as a result, it's often cheaper, significantly cheaper, in fact, to buy a product that says on it in Hebrew, Yibu Makbil. And by law, it will say Yibu Makbil. If it doesn't say on it, you know it is, both because the price is cheaper than it normally goes, and it will have one of those stickers of the Hebrew ingredients on it that simply comes off rather than being printed on the box. Because remember, in an everyday case, the plant is making a whole issue of that X toothpaste that is for the Israeli market, meaning the box, the branding, everything is in Hebrew. If it's marketing it for another country, of course it's not going to be in Hebrew. No one else speaks Hebrew in the world except us, right? On a national level, national distribution level. So why would they put Hebrew on it? Only when it's brought in through parallel import will a sticker be placed on it so it's ready for the Israeli market. Okay, this is a really important thing to watch out for because it can save you a lot of money. Chains in Israel sell it, some don't. Victory is a classic example that sells a lot of products, including cosmetics, at Yibu Makbil. And you can see this, it'll even be listed on the ticket, the LED sign, it'll say Yibu Makbil. This is your friend. If you want to save money and follow the law, folks, Yibu Makbil is your friend. Those two other words I talked about, Yatzran, manufacturer, and Yevuan, importer. Okay. Finally, because I just talked about Yibu Makbil, and this is relatively recent. The old school way to be Israeli about things when trying to save money, especially on cosmetics, because like I said, and if any of you have been to Israel recently, or you've lived in Israel, or you are living in Israel, you know it can be expensive to buy some of the grooming products we talked about and some we didn't. The classic Israeli way is to have a friend come from abroad or for yourself to travel abroad. That was the old way to do it. It still is very much in vogue. Okay, so for example, if you wanted to ask someone to bring you back something, it's very common among Olim to ask each other in English, oh, I'm going to the States, or oh, I'm going to Canada, or I'm going to the US, or anywhere in the world. Could you bring me back something? Right? Here's how to do it in Hebrew, because let's say you're working. Let's say you have neighbors. Let's say you want to ask them, not just them asking you. How are you going to conduct that um, um, dialogue? Spoiler alert, that is what we're going to be talking about this week at Cafe Oleh Conversations. Stay tuned. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay. אפשר להביא לי blank מחול. That should be מחול and not מחול. Okay. אפשר. אפשר, we've talked about, is a magical word. אפשר is the polite way to ask a question. אפשר can mean may I, can I, would I, should I. It can also change pronouns altogether. It could be could you, until you specify otherwise, it could be any person. Okay. And the other great thing about efshar, it is always, always, always followed by the infinitive. So if you are still having issues with conjugating verbs, efshar is really your friend, right? Efshar lehavili. Efshar, is it possible? Or in this case, could you? Lehavi, lehavi means to bring. Li, for me. Blank michul. Let's say, for example, I like a certain kind of men's deodorant that in Israel is either hard to find or very expensive. And I know someone is going abroad. I'll ask them to buy it for me. אפשר להביא לי deodorant מחו"ל? Okay, that's how you would ask it. אפשר להביא לי Tylenol מחו"ל? אפשר להביא לי whatever it is, doesn't have to be grooming products. It could be pharmaceuticals, like I just said. It could be anything. This is how you're going to ask someone who you know is going abroad. אפשר להביא לי מחו"ל? Could you bring me such and such product from abroad? The such and such, the blank you're going to fill in personally. Let's say they say Ken. This you're going to reply, right? Dialogue. Important to keep having the conversation going. Ken? וואו, אשמח מאוד. לאן לשלוח את ההזמנה? Ken? Yeah. Ken means yes, or yeah. Yeah. Wow. Esmach meod. Esmach is another great word. Esmach is the future tense of the verb lismoach, to become happy. Esmach means I would love, I'd be happy to, or in this case, I would love that a lot. Meod. Esmach meod. I'd love that. I'd really love that. Right? If they said, yes, I'll be happy to bring you blank from abroad. La'an lishloach et hazmana. Right? This person's already doing you a favor. They're schlepping something back, albeit in their suitcase. You don't need to ask them to go out and buy something physically. You are going to send it to where they are, or to mail it to where they are, or have it delivered to where they are. And the way you're going to ask that is very polite and equally important. There's no conjugation involved. So again, even at a beginner's level, you can be a full Israeli by asking someone to bring you something abroad and asking where to send it. And the way you're going to ask to send it, where to send it, le'an, to where, lishloach, to send, et hazmana, the order. In English, we would say simply, where should I have it sent? Right? You've already clarified what the it is in asking first, אפשר להביא לי X מחו"ל, right? Fill in the blank from abroad. And so as you don't need to say the word again, right? לאן לשלוח את ההזמנה? First off, you're making it clear, I'm having it delivered to you, so you don't need to go out of your way. And anyways, I'm not expecting you to go out of your way. And second, le'an is the question word for going to, where to, right? Otherwise, where simply is efo, but when it's the act of going to somewhere, where to where is another way to think of it. Excuse me. Lishloach means to send. Le'an lishloach et hazmana. I can conjugate this verb. Le'an ani sholeach et hazmana, or le'an ani eshlach, the future tense as opposed to the present tense. Le'an ani eshlach et hazmana. Where shall I send the order, the product? But I'm making it easy for you. And it's understood, and it sounds more authentic, and it sounds more like conversational Hebrew. Le'an lishloach et hazmana. Where to send the product. And in this case, hazmana means order, right? Excuse me. Lazmin means both to order and invite something. Hazmana is the order itself. It can also mean invitation, but in this case, the order. Le'an lishloach et hazmana. I'm about to go abroad to the States for Rosh Hashanah. People will ask me, אפשר להביא לי blank מחו"ל? And I will always say, as long as I have space, כן, בטח. Yes, of course. כן, wow, אשמח מאוד, Jay. Wow, I'd really love that, Jay. לאן לשלוח את ההזמנה, right? They're asking for my address. You could simply ask, what is your address? מה הכתובת שלך? But this is a nicer way to ask. לאן לשלוח את ההזמנה? Where should I have it sent? Okay, simple as that. Let me get to some questions before we talk about Wednesday's class for Cafe Oleh Conversations and reintroducing that for people who don't know what it is, as well as next week's classes, because we have a lot coming up in the next few weeks. Is tipuach like tapuach? No. No, no, no. Great question. And we've talked about this before. Folks, listen very carefully and look very carefully. In Hebrew, spelling is destiny. You cannot spell a word with a different letter than how it's written in a dictionary or how it's taught to you, simply because it sounds similar. In Hebrew, every single letter has value. You cannot switch out. It just can't be done. Tipuach, its root. Every single Hebrew word has a root, a shoresh, and that shoresh has a meaning inherent and connected to that word. Tipuach, its root is tet pe chet. Tapuach, the fruit, the apple, is taf pe chet. Two different words. Listen to how I say it. Tet, tav. The moment you hear, even if the letter sounds similar in its pronunciation, but has a different name, it is a completely different word. Don't confuse them. You must spell correctly. I know that's difficult for those who have cognitive issues with spelling. However, the majority of you do not. You have to spell it correctly. It is not related to Apple. It just sounds similar, but it is in no way connected. Great and important question. What would you say the difference is litapel and litaper? Great question. Litaper means to groom or to treat, like to take care of yourself. Litapel, however, let me add that here. Litapel is to take care of. You can do a tipul. Tipul is treatment. Okay. And that could be any kind of treatment. That could be a beauty treatment. That could be a psychological treatment, right? When you go to therapy in Hebrew, it's called tipul. Okay. Any kind of treatment in Hebrew is literally tipul. Litapel is simply to take care of, to treat. To take care of, treat. To treat. Okay. But to groom, but litaper is more to treat, as in to treat something on you, to treat hygiene is the best way to think of that. Okay. Litaper. Litaper is to take care of something, as in to groom it or to take care of it, to treat it. Litapel is to take care of something. Like if you need to litapel בחשבונות שלי. Shali. I have to take care of my bills. That's what litapel is. It's not something certainly luxuriating like litaper. The major difference. Hope that explained it. Inactive ingredients. How do you think you say if chomer pa'il is active ingredients? How do you think you say inactive ingredients when pa'il, chomer is a noun and pa'il is an adjective? Chomer, lo pa'il. Okay. If an ingredient is active, it's chomer pa'il. If it's inactive, chomer lo pa'il. Okay. Simple as that. What is al sabon? This one always trips me up. Al sabon is, I always call it soapless soap. It's usually non-sudsing soap. It doesn't have the same, it usually doesn't have lye or some of the other active ingredients in soap. It's usually used by people who are allergic to the main ingredients in soap, lye, some of the other normal things in it. But al sabon is best thought of as soapless soap. It does the same thing as soap. It just doesn't have some of the same chomer pa'il as regular soap does. Okay. What did you call whiskers, i.e. stubble? It's more like whiskers. It's not stubble. We don't really use the same word because zifim are like individual. Like someone who has a patchy beard and can't really grow out a beard, you would call that zifim. And let me write that in. Where's our words for, yeah. Zifim. Not zifim. Zifim. Whiskers. Right? Zifim. Okay. When do you use zaken and when do you use vatik? Great point. The difference is zaken is an old person, vatik is a senior, right? Someone who has vetek has seniority, vatik is senior. The other word that's the third word is mevugal. Mevugal is an adult, not quite vatik, and definitely not zaken. Zaken is a term used in Jewish tradition and ancient Jewish tradition to mean like the elders. I would not call someone zaken. I wouldn't necessarily call them vatik. I'd probably call them mivugal. That's the nicer of the terms. It just means an adult. And it's not senior and it's not anything else. Mivugal. Okay. What are braids? If I'm not mistaken, samot. Samot. It's interesting that although Israel is a smaller market, medication in the US is far more expensive. Universal healthcare, folks, can't beat it. Politics aside, it makes a difference in prices. That's prescription medicine. We didn't talk about that today, and we've had previous lessons about that. We're only talking about cosmetics. Medication is not the same thing as cosmetics. Hazmana. Hazma. Oh, it's not spelled correctly. Someone caught that. And my hazmana. Yafet. Thanks for whoever caught that. Hazmana. Can you simply say la'an lishloach oto? Absolutely, right? Instead of saying la'an lishloach et hazmana, you could also say la'an lishloach. Don't worry, I'll put back the original. Right? We talked about oto last week in terms of direct object pronouns. Where to send it? Literally in Hebrew, where to send it? To where to send it? Where should I have it sent is the understood meaning. La'an lishloach oto, where to send the product you asked for someone to bring from abroad. Okay. Great point. You can absolutely ask that. I see a lot of people correcting my spelling. Thank you for being very uh, mindful of that. I'm confused. Where should I have it sent? Does this mean where I've sent it in Israel? No, folks. Again, this is in the, you're not, please listen to me and please don't read ahead before I explain. That's why we have the spreadsheet and I explain doing this. This is in the context of being very Israeli and asking someone, Efshar la'avili X michul. Okay, this is one section right here. Can you bring me something from abroad? And after they say yes, you say, yeah, wow, esmach meod, le'an lishloach et hazmana. You're obviously not saying to you're not having an internal conversation with someone, right? You're asking someone to bring something from abroad. You need to know where they are abroad to have it sent to them. This isn't about Israel. If this was about Israel, we wouldn't be having a conversation with a friend. Could you bring me something from abroad? This is about bringing something from abroad to save money, right? Because if a product isn't under Yivu Makbil, it might be considerably cheaper in America or anywhere in the world than it is in Israel. So therefore, the classic Israeli thing to do is asking someone to bring it from abroad. Yesh makom b'mizvadot shelcha? Is there room in your suitcase, you're asking? Is that something you might ask? It's very polite to simply ask, could you bring something from abroad, right? That's on the person to say if they have space. And that's a great preview for Wednesday's class I'll talk about in a second. We're going to further this dialogue out into actual conversations that you can have with each other. Can you call a person samich or thick as in the head? No. If someone is thick in the head, they have a small head in Hebrew. We call that rosh katan, meaning they can't think beyond the immediacy of something, or they can't think necessarily for themselves, let alone in a smart way. Does tipuach apply to dogs and cats? Tipuach applies to any sort of grooming. Absolutely. Okay. Leave-in conditioner for a beard, often called beard. Do you use leave-in conditioner? Is there a special term for the beard? In Israel, yeah, it's just like in many countries, we call it beard oil, shemen lazaken, right? Shemen lazaken, oil for the beard oil. Is there a term for scent-free, dye-free, fragrance-free, color-free for shampoo and conditioner? Okay. If you are looking, we've had many classes about allergies, and I will try to include this before we send them out. Anytime you have allergies, people, you're looking for a list of products, and you're looking at the ingredients. You're going to look for anything that's listed after this word, lilo. Without, none. If you have any sort of allergies or sensitivities, this word is your friend, lilo. Lilo means without, none, or dash free. Okay. So if there are specific things you don't need to have in your products, look for this word and what follows after it. First off, you should know what words you're allergic to, and that you do on your own. There's 300 people on this call. I can't sit here and go through all of your personal allergies. That's on you to look up. But when you're looking at a product, you're going to look for this word lilo and see if it's listed after that, in which case you know that it's free or without that thing. Okay, so if you're looking for scent-free, dye-free, fragrance-free, color-free for shampoo and conditioner, laundry soap, look up those words because those are particular to you. When you look at the label, it will say on it lilo, for example, fragrance lilo bisum. Okay, bisum is fragrance. Okay, and so forth, as well as scent. Um, Okay, I see a lot of questions going off about seniors and discounts. We talked a lot about discounts the other week with public transportation. Another plug to watch last week's class. Okay, we're going to stop here so I can talk about next week's class, as I see has need to have words with my automatic Nikud generator here because it really messed up with that. Sorry, just 1 second. I want to be sure that this, there we go. Okay. First off, toda rabba, thank you all for joining. For those of you who have not joined us yet for Cafe Oleh Conversations on Wednesday nights, same time, 8 p.m. Israel time, we go over that week's class into breakout rooms where you're able to practice listening and speaking with each other based on your proficiency levels, talking about a given topic. For those of you, and I saw very clearly in the Q&A, you got very excited and even offered other ways to ask about bringing things from abroad, both asking and offering. That's what we're going to be doing this Wednesday. Striking up a conversation with your neighbor, your colleague, your family friend, your relative who's native Israeli, and having the conversation in Hebrew that you've probably already had in English. Can you bring something from abroad? Do you have space in your suitcase? How much does it cost? Can I have it sent to you? Where do I have it sent? When are you coming back? What else can I do for you? Can you do me a favor? All of those questions you just threw at me, we're going to turn them into a lesson this Wednesday. So if that's important to you, please join us on Wednesday. If you don't have the sign up, you will get it in the summary email from Cafe Oleh on Mondays. You can also just go to the Nefesh B'Nefesh website, find the Cafe Oleh page and sign up yourself for Wednesday at 8 p.m. I believe the link is also in the chat right now. But that is a great way to keep this class going. Next week's class is a very important one because we are about to enter the holiday season here in Israel and in the Jewish world around the world. Next week is going to be our annual holiday season primer. Everything you need to know about when the holidays begin, which days, what to expect, all the everything you need to from work to holiday meals, what to expect, what to bring, everything you need to know for the next month ahead, getting ready for the holiday season, no matter where you are, no matter how long you've been in Israel, and understanding the differences between celebrating Jewish holidays in Israel versus abroad, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, um, gifts, expressions, all the other things to expect, all in one class. So definitely join us next Monday, if not earlier, for Wednesday when we talk about how to offer to bring things back or to ask for things to be brought back for yourself. Until then, you'll get a copy of both this recording as well as the spreadsheet that we went through in the next day or two. Check your emails. If it's not in your email, please go to youtube.com. You can also subscribe to the Nefesh B'Nefesh channel, in which case you'll get an automatic notification when it's up. Until we meet on Wednesday and certainly next week's class, toda rabba, thank you all for joining, and we'll see you all very soon. Lihitraot.